Hey, Nancy.
Hello there.
How are you?
Very good. CJ, are you coming in as the Inglewood Historic Preservation?
Oh, hi, that's me. Hold on. Can you hear me? This is Matt.
Oh, okay. As long as I know who it is, I'll just move you up. I just want to make sure it wasn't somebody for public comment.
He's trying to help me.
Okay.
What?
Oh, there's CJ.
Okay, I think I'm going to turn the volume down. I'm on the phone with CJ. Hold on.
Hey. I still don't see me, but that's
Unmute. Mute.
There you go.
Where? Oh, look at that. You got the Tuileries behind you, Matteo.
I do.
Hey,
I do.
Jason.
I forgot I left that on there.
So it's not seeing my camera now, which is probably good.
Hold on. It's right here. Hold on. Let me. Oops. Sorry.
Did I need to
Control.
start video?
Yeah.
Ah! Okie dokie, mokies schmokies. This is
All right, I'm
the
going to hang up
first
the phone
time
with you.
ever in my whole COVID time of being able to talk and listen on Zoom.
Okay. Well, I'm going to disconnect from TeamViewer. Go ahead
Bye.
and close that out. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Had to remote in to help CJ with her volume.
Okay.
Nancy, you did something different with your hair? It looks really nice.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you don't talk. It's just a picture.
Yes, I'm not on video, but you all have to be on video because you're members, so the public can see.
Can they take this away? Oh, it froze up on me. Yeah, can you take this away?
Yeah, if I could do that, wouldn't I be a millionaire?
Well, you do. You look good. And I guess I got to close the curtains, huh? Too late, dog. Okay. Okay. You scared him away, okay? Stop. Now.
I forgot how I did the screen in the back there.
You just go down to where it says start video and there's a little up arrow. So you click on that and it'll say choose virtual background.
Oh yeah, okay. So I don't know. Would you prefer Tuileries or do you prefer beautiful golden Colorado?
Whichever one you pick is great. How come I have so much glare? Really, from the windows?
Who, me?
I want to look like Jason and Eric. Look how clean they are.
Try wiping the lens off a little bit on here.
Nope, it could be the subject matter. Huh. It's got to be with, because you have your windows. Oh, wait, those aren't really your windows, huh?
No, those aren't really my windows. That's golden.
You lie.
No, seriously, that is actually golden. That's the.
Oh, you're in golden.
I'm in golden. Yes, I'm in golden right now. I'm at my office.
Huh. I wonder how to make myself clearer. Here comes Lauren.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
You're clear too. I want to be clear.
Looks like there's a email from Cash asking, can somebody send the meeting link?
I'll take care of it.
Eric, I like your cat.
Yeah, he tends to be needy when I'm on these conference call things.
Attention.
You gotta be where the action is.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, did you train him to moon us?
No. He doesn't really learn much anything.
Oh, what is he, a cat?
Yeah.
Has anyone else got these graduation? Hi. Has anyone else got these graduation announcements where the pictures of the women are amazingly sexy? Oh my God, my niece was in the river, kind of thing, and I'm like, whoa.
Nope. Hey, Cash. Nope. That's great.
Eric comes and goes. There's Cash. Wow, see, he's clear too. We're such a chatty bunch, aren't we?
Eric,
Hey,
is this
sorry I'm late. I wasn't on the email with the link, so I apologize.
Just, it's okay.
Eric, is this everyone?
Waiting on Madeline. I was just sending
Madeline.
her an email
Oh,
link to the meeting.
Oh, I've got
So-
two more.
Should have Dave
And
Cuesta
And Melinda
Yep.
is here.
Drove you to drink, huh, Cash?
I wish it was a drink, just water, regrettably. Maybe after.
I had asked Matt if I should run over a bottle of wine and we could all be drinking wine together.
Seems apropos since we're in our homes, right?
I'm at work.
What would it be called? ZIU? Zooming under the influence? ZUI.
Yeah, ZUI.
Well, we know the difference. This was like
Hey, you're not clear either.
well, yeah. I'm just kind of blurry, you know. I'm old.
It's
And
cataract.
so is my
Computer cataracts.
So
Yeah.
Eric, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you and I will exit.
Okay, that sounds good.
Bye, Nancy. Thank
Bye,
you.
it's good to see you all.
Thanks, Nancy.
So since we're running late and we're all here, let's
Except
come to
for
order.
Cuesta.
And let's skip to new business because I'd like to welcome Helene.
Hold on, we need to do roll call first.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, meeting commence at 6:36.
All right.
And then,
and I'm Melinda Ellswick.
Okay, so I'll just run down the attendance list and just say here, just because
All
it's
right.
easier for the record. So CJ Cullinan,
Here.
Matthew Crabtree,
Here.
Melinda Ellswick,
Here.
Lauren Cooper,
Here.
Cash Parker,
Here.
Jason O'Brien,
Here.
Dave Cuesta, Dave yet, and Eric Sampson is here, and Madeline Hinkfest.
Here.
Okay, now I will turn it over to Melinda. Thank you.
All right. You didn't ask Helene if she was here.
That's right. She's not on my list. So I have Helena Frederici. Sorry if I butchered your name.
So unmute yourself and tell us about yourself.
Helene Federici is here. It's very nice to meet you all, and I'm so excited actually to be part of this group. I have no idea what we're going to be doing, but whatever it is, I bet it's going to be awesome. And my background is in media and instructional design. So I have a lot that I can bring to the table and skill sets. Like I do video editing and motion graphics and like some programming. And I've also been an executive producer of some online museums for like our iHeartMedia. So I have a lot of experience digitizing and archiving, and also like digitally displaying historically significant information.
Wow, that's amazing.
That could be very helpful for us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome to the group.
Yes.
Hey, Dave, you got a plane getting out of your head.
Good evening, everyone. Pardon my delay. I'll move out of the way of the plane here. Pardon my delay getting in, but hello to everyone. And welcome to Helene. She was actually on library board with me last night, too. We meet again, Helene. Nice to see you.
Oh,
How do you guys get yourself muted like that?
Oh, my bad. I said I'm in your district, District 4.
you can mute yourself, CJ, by, I think, just touching your space bar.
I want to mute myself?
Whoops.
Okay.
No, only if you want to mute yourself. Or there's a little icon down in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Now you're muted. In fact, everybody but me is muted. Oh, gee, I love it when that happens. You can all unmute if you like, though. Why don't we review the minutes from our last meeting on June 17th? Does anyone have any amendments?
I don't have any comments, and I guess barring anybody else, I would move to approve the minutes as is.
Thank you. Is there a second? I suppose I could second.
Nope.
All right. All in favor?
Oh, and then do a roll call vote because we're digital, so we need to do each person.
Ah, all right. Then I'm just going across my screen in order then. So Jason has moved and I seconded, and all in favor, unmute yourselves now. Jason, aye, right? CJ.
Aye.
Lauren.
Abstain because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh, I should say that too then. Forgive me. Abstain.
Well, you were
at
sort
the
of
last meeting.
there.
Okie dokie. Never mind.
You were there by audio.
Okie dokie.
If you'd like to abstain, you can.
No.
And Helene, I guess you will abstain, of course.
I'll abstain.
Cash.
Aye.
And Matt.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes. Oh, I also vote aye, right? Or 6 ayes and 1 abstention. All right, moving on. Cash, after our last meeting, you were going to, and you did, I see, send out some questions to get a sense from Dave on what council might think on our landmark protection language.
Yes, I did. I did. So yeah, what can we pass, Dave? We're holding you to it 100%.
You bet. I did bounce this off council. At the end, we have council members' choice, and so I brought this up. I don't believe it was the last meeting, but the meeting prior. You guys previewed it well. I'm sure everybody recalls when you spoke council, they actually saw the emblems that I believe Matt had kind of carved out in his garage. I think everybody was really pleased with how those turned out and think they'll be a good addition. The number one, I think, as long as there's nothing binding within the language, that once that's placed on a building, that there be any sort of process in order for the owner of that building to make changes to it. That as long as that's avoided, I think just about anything you want to do will get through council. I honestly think they'd like to keep the bar relatively low on being able to participate now, and so I think that goes back to this group, because I think they would like to get it on as many buildings as possible for folks that are the property owners or operators that you think fit the mold of that designation. But I think council is going to be very receptive, assuming that it's not binding.
So of our, we have basically two levels of protection we're thinking about, and one is more stringent than the other. For instance, that it requires our approval for to demolish a historic building, and the less stringent is it requires our notifying us. Do I have that right?
You bet. I don't think it hurts to present both. I think that the less stringent probably almost, I don't want to say rubber stamp, but I think that gets through quite easily. I think that it doesn't hurt to put the second one out there that is more stringent for the sake of the conversation. I'm curious to see what the pulse is on council on that one. So if it was my decision, I would take both to council for presentation. Again, I'm pretty certain that's the less stringent moves through. And I'm curious to see what happens on the first. So I think that it's a good starting point. And then I think it might give this group some feedback on exactly where does council stand on this, almost philosophically, in terms of, what is their perspective on these buildings going forward, and in the perspective of this council for, I guess, the next 18 months, it'll be this same group. So I think that it might not hurt if you guys are amenable to it, to present both and then see where it lands. But if you present both, you're walking out of there with one of them approved, would be my thought.
Okay, thanks for that, David. And
Sure.
I was just curious. I can't quite remember what was in that email from Cash, but one of the things we've kind of spoke about in previous meetings as far as language goes is that from History Colorado, there's kind of template language for that. It was made for a CLG guidebook, but it can be used by anybody. And I don't know if that was something that you had the chance to look at or counsel, and that kind of shows the different levels. They break it down to limited, basic, and then I think it just extended or something, blanking on the name there, but we've kind of talked about that limited and basic, and that limited language that they have sounds a lot like what you're talking about, where it's more voluntary compliance with review, like where we see lots of some places, or where I'd worked previously was, it still comes to the Preservation Commission for review, but those findings are not binding to the homeowner. And that's probably the biggest difference between limited and basic, whereas basic usually calls for some level of compliance, but limited usually still includes that review from the board, because there's people who want to do right by their historic property, and as the experts, we can say, like, we all know those windows aren't appropriate to that building, or that roof and stuff, and provide those comments. But again, in that limited one, and what sounds like council has the most appetite is those comments aren't binding. Does that kind of seem along kind of what you're understanding?
Yes, that is one thing that I didn't think about until you mentioned it now, is that it might be worth me forwarding this to the city attorney as well. She likes to put her eyes on these things, and I should probably do that just to see if she has any feedback And she's got a couple of folks in her office that might not even make it to her. She might hand it off to somebody there. But if you don't mind, let me get it over to her. I'll follow up with the group if she has any thoughts one way or the other. Needless to say, it's still council's decision how they would proceed, but she might have some guidance or at least perspective on it. So I'll involve her as well.
Yeah, I think we knew and had discussed that would be the first step in the process. Logistically, I may have asked you this question, I feel like the last time we were face to face, which feels like a decade ago, of course,
Sure.
but I think the process for presenting it would be in another study session. Is that right, Dave?
Correct. And I think that, if we do it in a study session, I'm not sure it needs to go through a formal council meeting for approval. And Eric, I would even defer to you if you happen to know, and that might even be a city manager question. I'm not sure that this is something. Now, let's say we did go with the one that was more stringent. That might be something that took a more formal approach and would have to go through the formal council meeting. I believe the less stringent one might even just could be decided that night at the study session. But procedure is a critical part here, and that's probably something that I should have grabbed more detail on. I kind of felt people out on opinion, but not so much process of how exactly would this look. So if you guys don't mind, allow me to follow up with you on that one too. And Eric, I'll probably copy you on those emails as well, just so you've got some visibility there.
Sounds good. And I think any change, if we have any landmark protection language that's going to go into the code, I think that would require a full public hearing with city council.
Pardon the barking dog too. That was me.
We don't mind the big orange cat either, so.
So what is like the timeline? When do you think we could present this to council? When, do you know, Dave, any idea how long it would take for the city attorney to review everything?
She's got a good turnaround time. To her credit, her and her team, they're pretty prompt. So let me get with her. Again, Eric, I'll copy you on all those emails. City council, we've been moving forward. We've been having meetings at a regular pace. I think we maybe even had a few more, obviously with additional issues that have come up with COVID. So we've had dockets that are full enough, but I mean, we should be able to get in soon enough in front of for a study session once the city attorney gives some guidance, which I imagine is essentially clearance and just kind of how we'll move forward. But at least getting on the calendar, it shouldn't be too far out at this point. Now, if I had to put a month on it, and this is where I get myself in trouble, we have 2 a month. I'm thinking we shouldn't be any more than 4 study sessions out, which would actually be, I guess, 9 to 10 weeks. And I guess, time passes in a weird way these days. That doesn't seem that long to me, but that's probably the ballpark I'd put it in.
Okay.
Well, and we can show her the template language that we've already kind of put in hand.
I think that would be the most helpful. I think that would be the best bet. If here's what we've got in mind, and just she might see something there that could serve as a pitfall for us, that it'd be better to correct it in advance than to just get caught on it that night. So I think that's a great idea. Kind of here's what we're proposing. She can even redline it, which she does for some things we send over to her. So if she has any thoughts, she'll just put them directly into the document, and then we can recirculate it amongst the group here.
Okay. We'll hope
that's kind of the nice thing about the model ordinances is that, kind of provides, we don't have to do a lot of brain pain on thinking what's all in there. We can provide these templates. And then again, it's obviously, we can do what's best for Inglewood, and if that city attorney thinks there should be some mixing and matching or, kind of things like that, that language is there is just a kind of a good slate to start with, and getting input from her and council and other folks, depending on the track it goes.
Very good. That sounds great.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Dave. That's helpful information.
My pleasure. And to your point, Cash, it probably seems like a lifetime since you guys last presented to council. So I think this next one will there'll be some more action taken.
Perfect.
was trying to remember when it was we presented.
I think it was only January, but like I said, it feels like it was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Depends on the world.
Was that really in January?
Yeah, can you believe that?
No.
Say, what year? Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next item then, which is the neighborhood mapping. Because Madeline, you and CJ were both kind of working on that. And have you gotten, Madeline, have you gotten more input on the city's website? Have people?
Yes, people have filled out, but we filled out the map that I explained last time. We haven't been pushing it right now. We're in the process, like I explained, of recruiting neighborhood group leaders. We're actually going to have a meeting next month, so if anyone wants to get their neighborhoods organized, you should join. And then we are going to figure out a process to honor the historic names and the historic neighborhoods and subdivisions that have been, those names have been given, and also make it, a modern neighborhood, and if people want to use their own names. So Eric and I have discussed that as a process, and we just haven't figured it out. We're just navigating it as we move forward.
I think there needs to be some education process here. Let people know what their neighborhood's name is, perhaps. I remember from something Mike Jones had put together that there's like down in the south part of the city, there's a Nazi neighborhood. I mean, it was an unappealing name. I forget what it was.
No, it was in fact
remember?
that, but it's not in Englewood. It's in Cherry Hills. It's right across the street from Downing. But yeah, the subdivision there is something not appealing. But all the ones in Englewood are not of that. They're fine in Englewood. So yeah. But yes, that did come up a long time ago, and it was in fact a Cherry Hills thing. It's whatever Porter's Downing there, I think, or whatever it is, I can't remember.
But I do promise you that we are working to honor the historic parts of Englewood and teach them about the history of their neighborhoods, and that's where you guys will come in. We're not that far, so we haven't figured out a process for that quite yet. Did you guys ever get that subdivision map that I spoke about last time? You want me to share my screen? I have it up. Should I share it?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I don't recall seeing it myself.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's the map. And so I think I talked about this last time. So you just click on it and the subdivisions will come up. GIS put this together. So like, for example, this is South Broadway Heights. You have to click to see exactly what it is. But this is, I believe, the historic map that CJ and I went through and that you guys have referred to Mike Jones also going through. And GIS did put it in this application online if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Sure. Can you copy that link at the top there and put that in the chat?
There's no chat. That's the problem.
There's no chat.
Yes.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, there's no chat. Why is there no chat?
Can I email it to Eric and then maybe Eric can send it out? Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Is this something we can look to get in the future, Eric, having the chat option? Because it would be helpful for sharing links and stuff. And it should be able, I haven't messed with Zoom too much, but I think the host should be able to add kind of stuff like that when it's created and things like that. So just for future ones.
Yeah, sure. I'll talk to Nancy about that. She seems to be the Zoom guru. So yeah, let me make a note and I'll see if we can't get that up and running for next time.
You can see we're all getting much more familiar with Zoom and its features. And we're probably going to be Zooming a lot for the foreseeable future. So unless we switch to some other forum thing like, meetings or Discord or one of those, but Zoom is easier to use, so maybe we should have that ability.
So real fast here, Madeline, question for you on the map as you guys have on there. We haven't seen it yet here. Obviously, we haven't gotten it yet here. But is there any reason why we wouldn't use the names that are on there that are already filled in as a city?
No, it's only if there's overlapping areas and say, you know, there's one block that's supposed to be named Bellevue, and then there's 3 more blocks around it that's supposed to be named Cushing Park. It's kind of how are we going to somehow combine those or not combine those moving forward. Because when you get the map, you'll see that some of the neighborhoods are just, like I said, blocks. They're very small. And so we want it to be more of a neighborhood name, not just a block name.
CJ, do you want to, you've spent a lot of time on this project. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, well, the one thing that's interesting is when you look at it, as far as subdivisions that have like what I would call pretty names, like South Broadway Heights and Arapahoe Acres or whatever, and Carnation Corner, I don't know what that one was, but anyway, it was Carnation something. But some of those subdivisions are just so small, you know, they're like 2 to 5 houses. The idea, like David Carroll's in a mid-century modern neighborhood that I didn't even really knew existed, but he says that their 5-house subdivision would be comfortable in just sticking with Jason Park for their name. So that type of decision making, I think, is going to be kind of historic in the idea that people are going to be able to make that decision, or sooner or later they're going to have to, for us to just say, okay, you're in this neighborhood.
And honestly, I think people, like if they are in a larger neighborhood called South Broadway Heights, they're going to be excited that there's a name there, and they're going to be like, yes, this is our name, this is great. And we can definitely direct them and push them towards that name. And then others are going to want to name their neighborhoods if we don't push them in a different direction. And it's going to be more of a group decision, a cohesive decision. We're not just going to have one person name a whole neighborhood, you know, moving forward. So,
yeah, I just see definite issues. You know, it would be so cool is to where, like in Denver, you come to a neighborhood, there's welcome to blah neighborhood. And I just think that is so cool. It's just that we're so piecemeal.
That's the goal, though. I promise.
I have a question about this.
Talked at all? Oh, go ahead, Helene.
I'm just wondering, are you, you're working to like brand the neighborhoods and give them like their own, like, they already have their names, but you're trying to raise awareness of them?
We don't have names. So what had happened was Mike Jones and myself, and through the Arapahoe County GIS guy, we went ahead and pulled all the subdivisions that we knew of in Inglewood. Quite a few different things were even bank add-ons or different things. So when you look, if you went seriously and took your time and clicked through that whole map that Madeline has, there's certain areas that are kind of blank or that have a weird name, or that 1 or 2 developers only did 1 or 2 houses. So there aren't neighborhoods set in stone. The city has used parks to generate neighborhoods in the past. So melding those things together is maybe where we are.
Well,
Mhm.
my only
Yeah.
input is that when you have all the neighborhoods determined, you should do an email blast to all the real estate agents and tell them the neighborhood names, because they're the ones that love that stuff, and they'll put them in the listings and they'll hype them up and they'll feel like they're in the know for knowing the names of the neighborhoods.
It's a
Yeah,
really good idea.
the guy that does those T-shirts. What is it? My Hood is Inglewood. Do you remember which T-shirt? He's willing to go ahead and do My Neighborhood Is, or whatever too. So that's really cool too.
Well,
Yeah.
and also with so there are areas in Englewood. So there are a lot of subdivisions that date back to when the area was originally plotted. For instance, South Broadway Heights, areas of that were plotted all the way back to 1880. And then there are later subdivisions such as Arapahoe Acres or the small little developments along the way, or further south up in Inglewood. So I think our original intent as the Historic Preservation Commission was to take that information and document it. In a lot of cases, people didn't know where those boundaries were, and help document the process. Now, the folks at Arapahoe County were helpful to Mike and CJ on that, definitely. But raising awareness of the existing areas. What I'm concerned with is both sides with the concerns that Madeline and CJ are bringing up with the little tiny fragmented neighborhoods. That's not effective, right? If you want to create the neighborhood feel, that's not an effective thing to have. Your next door neighbor in a different neighborhood than you, even though you're in the same area type thing. But of course, from the standpoint that there are larger areas in the city, that would be nice to recognize those developments and the history behind those.
And I think we had it in mind also that we would have be able to designate historic districts and some signage, welcome to Arapahoe Acres Historic District or Logandale Historic District or whatever. But
Well, and two things. With historic districts, they don't necessarily have to be along neighborhood lines. So the district could be just those 5 houses that are along one block, even if it's not an official neighborhood or anything. And the other thing I was going to ask is, have we thought about just like combining, like if there's 2 smaller neighborhoods, just combining them together and calling it like Logan Jason neighborhood, and that way we do get like one cohesive neighborhood that's honoring both of the official names.
I think that's a really great idea. That's something definitely that as we get down the road to naming and drawing official boundaries, I think that's a great idea. Many people are really interested in the history. They don't know the history. And if we tell them about it, they're going to be really excited about it. So I think that's an awesome idea.
How do you picture this moving forward, Madeline?
I picture this moving forward. The next step in the neighborhood program, I was hoping to have an in-person meeting, but thus COVID. So I'm just going to have a Zoom meeting. And I've talked to, and everyone's invited. I have some individuals who have stepped up as neighborhood group leaders. And so the next step is going to be to get them all in a Zoom room so we can chat and share ideas. And I'm hoping to get a neighborhood registration form out. I'm just hesitant to do that because I want to make sure that it's a whole neighborhood thing and not just one individual getting a neighborhood registered. So I want to make sure that it's a full neighborhood effort coming together.
Yeah, I like the idea from Lauren that just kind of combining the names. And obviously that's something we see elsewhere. Just, one that pops in my head, for Denver, Globeville, Elyria, Swansea, it's 3 historic neighborhoods that kind of been lumped together for various reasons, but there's certainly precedent for just kind of combining things like that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Eric and I, after last meeting, have had discussions about how we can involve this committee as we move forward. We're just not quite, we're almost there. We're just learning as we go. but this committee is definitely going to be a part of it. So
It's almost the first project we wanted to do when the commission was first formed 3 years ago.
That's
So-
awesome.
So we're still working on it. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I can be a catalyst to keep it going and get some official names out there.
Let's do hope. Yeah. And Eric will send us all a link so we can play around in the map, right? Or you will send it to
Yes.
Eric and he will send it to us.
Yep, I'll forward it on to you guys.
Okay. Let's talk about the demolition permit wish list that we put together last meeting. And Matt, you were going to run that past the building department. How did it go?
Well, I didn't actually have a chance to do that. So I'm going to need a little bit more time. I had a kind of a busy couple of weeks here. So if
a wedding, he had a wedding.
Yeah, so
That's
anyway.
busy, yeah.
Yeah.
Good excuse.
Yeah, I thought I could
Can't
get it
use
done,
it
but
again, though.
yeah, no, once. Anyway, so I thought I could get it done. It was kind of a crazy couple 3 weeks there. So I'll give you an update on that next meeting. For the benefit of Helene, do you want to see? Are you on our email distribution?
I don't think so. If you're asking, I think you asked
Helene,
me.
I think actually Helene. Yeah, the last email. Did you get the last email I sent? Matthew Crabtree there from the
Yes,
meeting link?
I did. So I am. Thank you.
So let me send you the wish list that we're working on.
I think we attached it to the agenda.
I see it in the agenda.
Oh, you do see it in the agenda. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I captured it from our shared Google site.
I'm seeing it on the agenda. Where is it on the agenda?
There's a link on the agenda, and then when I click it, it just takes me to the bottom of it. Is that the list I'm supposed to be seeing?
It's the last page after the minutes.
Last page after the minutes. Let me take a peek here. I can pull PDF. Make sure that we're looking at the same thing. Page after the, yeah. Well, I don't see it, but I believe you.
Okay.
We should
You have any comments
probably
on
also send Helene a link to our shared Google site. And that will give you a whole lot of more information actually than you probably want about our mapping project and some of our other projects that we have a lot of documents there. So, okay, so we'll send you an invitation, Helene.
Okay, I just said sounds good. Thank you. I was muted. Thank you.
And all right, the next item was we need to, in order to apply for a grant for a survey of our historic buildings, we have to have an RFP. We don't know who, we should probably help the city out by saying who they should request proposals from. I know, Jason, you're not allowed to specifically endorse anyone.
As the state, yeah, I can't, but again, for that, there's, we maintain a list of consultants from History Colorado, and again, the list doesn't endorse people. It doesn't, list their qualifications, but it's people who are listed on there. So it's somebody, that can be looked at for, and what other kind of procedures the city has to do. I don't know exactly how they have to do their RFPs. If it, if it's totally open, posting it certain places and whatnot. So.
Because the one thing that, I mean, Eric, can you tell us we can't just use that contractor list since they've already been vetted?
No, basically, so request for proposal, you have to basically open it up to anybody, to receive proposals, review them, and so on. I think that's a legal thing.
And then who makes that decision?
Ultimately, that will come down to, I think all of us. I think you guys would have a say, and I think ultimately the official word would come from the community development director. But I think definitely everybody would be able to review and make suggestions and voice their opinion.
Because we want the city to understand we're asking for proposals so that we can request a grant to pay for it. That we're not asking the city to put money into it, because we know times are hard. Budgets are being cut everywhere. So, but apparently there's still some grant money available. So,
where's this grant money coming from, Melinda?
From History of Colorado.
Why do we have to get an RFP from Inglewood at this step?
Yes, in order to that's part of the grant application. We've got to apply for a grant of X dollars based on this proposal.
Yeah, so when you're requesting oh, sorry, Melinda, but yeah,
when
you're requesting a grant from the State Historical Fund, you need supporting documents that include bids from contractors. It doesn't have to be the person you select, but including those bids. It also has to include things like a scope of work, so they understand that this is going to be a successful grant and things like that, which would also, that scope of work, there's a template one from the State Historical Fund, which we help with submitting for the grant, but also anything that the selected consultant would have on how to do it. And so yeah, you need dollar amounts and you need a scope of work in order to move through the application process.
Thank you, Jason.
Who would be putting together the RFP? Would we have to do that? And I apologize if we talked about this last meeting when I wasn't there.
I was at the last meeting. I don't think we did, and that was my question too. Do we have to put it together? I mean, ultimately, someone I think said this a moment ago. I'm sure the city attorney has to look at it, and it probably has to go out through either their office or some other office in the city. But do we actually have to put it together, or does someone else do that?
I think ultimately that'll come out of our department, but I would definitely want to use your guys' experience with what a request would look like language-wise, just to maybe have like something to springboard off of.
Makes sense.
Jason, do you know if like SHF has anything like that?
Sorry, I was doing something. Yeah, they do. I was just gonna email the link to their page that has a sample scope of work and budget for specifically for the survey and planning grant.
Nice. Okay.
I have like a couple questions about the grant and the RFPs. So the grant is to perform demolition work?
No, to perform a survey of historic buildings.
Okay, and then I've actually been on the other side of RFPs in the past, so I don't know if this is going to be helpful or not, but usually the request has a couple like categories, one being like what's your financial bid, but the other being like how are you going to ensure quality, or like just these categories, and then they get assigned like values, and then like we as a group would like determine the credibility of each section of it, and then like a numerical value would determine like the winner of the RFP. I don't know if that's relevant here, but in some government agencies have to follow that protocol for legal reasons. And then also it doesn't just come down to dollars. So there are like some subjective.
Agreed. Whoops. I think you locked up, Eileen. There you are. Well, and I've been on the receiving end of requests for proposal, and they frequently include a scope of work, and as well as terms and conditions and that you have to address. But if they're asking you to submit a proposal, then it usually has a scope of work that it wants you to propose.
And I was just going to clarify for Helene, just what we've been kind of talking about is, so the State Historical Fund, they're part of History Colorado, and they're a grant program from limited stakes gaming funds. So they have a few classes of grants, and including ones that are non-competitive, which this survey and planning grant would be. And that grant is to provide basically an outline for how to do preservation work. You know, it's not going to survey all the buildings. It's going to do a windshield survey to get an idea of what resources are out there and provide the guidance for, you know, kind of like, well, look over here, here's like a potential historic district, or over here is, you know, this resource. And it provides a historic context from which to assess those properties for. So it's kind of often it's one of the very first steps, just because it kind of provides a roadmap for how to do further things. So it's really can be really helpful. But yeah, you're good point with the grants and stuff. And yeah, this one, it's things have changed because of COVID. You know, was like a rolling non-competitive grant. They are now kind of banking those until August, and kind of like a first come first serve, just because of you know, get limited stakes gaming funds. They're obviously that has been affected with the casinos being closed down for so long. But that's what we've been talking about, because it's kind of one of the first steps in planning how you're going to do future preservation.
I really appreciate that clarity. And there was like one other really random thing that I want to share with the group that I recently learned that could be helpful to some of these initiatives. If you tie preservation efforts to climate change, there are like countless avenues of funds. And I'm actually producing a course on this right now. So this is how I know this. And basically, it's a United Nations course that's teaching groups like even ours how to tap into allocated funds for climate change by tying and tethering climate change to your efforts. And you can do that with preservation. There's actually like divisions of the EPA and other organizations that have like preservation subcategories. So there's like ways to do it. And then once you've done that in your proposal, you've opened up channels of funding. So, I mean, it's a little bit like kind of like a scheme, to be honest, because it's like tie it together. But different governmental and non-governmental organizations are promoting this because they have the funds they have to spread out, and they do see historical preservation as a category of environmentalism. Interesting.
Not only environmental issues, I know one of my favorite hobby horses is affordable housing, and preserving some of our small single-family affordable houses can maybe tie into that.
Yes, actually, you're 100% correct, because even if you don't see the connective tissue, this is exactly the course I'm designing right now. According to the United Nations and even our own EPA, housing, like climate change disproportionately impacts low-income communities. So housing issues, women's issues, children's issues, all have automatic tie-ins to climate change concerns and can open up avenues for funding. So you're 100% right about that. I'm just sharing this with you because it was kind of mind-blowing to me. And as I teach it, I'm learning like how to do it. I'm not a funding expert, but I think it's an interesting thing to consider when looking for funding for these initiatives.
Especially if we end up needing more than we originally thought.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other benefits too, but I haven't gotten to teaching that part of the course yet, so I don't know what they are. So when I get to that part, I'll let you know.
So forgive me, where are the steps? What step are we at right now?
In our RFP?
Yes.
I think we need to like use one of the templates, perhaps that Jason has shared, and then if the RFP is going to come from Eric's department, then we, as a commission, perhaps draft up that statement of work for them to use as a basis for issuing an RFP.
Is it too much to ask Jason to put together a little draft, or?
You have time?
Well, I think Eric was going to step in. I think there was a step before we kind of get there, correct, Eric?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I want to sit down with the planning manager and community development director. They're both aware of the project, but I just kind of want to get their input on the best way to move forward because they have dealt with RFPs before many times, and this is my first go around with RFPs. So I think if we can kind of sync up that way, and then if you want to send that draft RFP stuff over to me, I think we can start there. And I think if there's any updates that I have after this meeting, I can let you guys know, and just see, kind of fill you in on what we're going to need to do and so on.
Is there any way to move it along? And I mean, we don't have to work under the deadlines of anything, Jason, to put money in. I mean, to put this request in.
No, again, this is one that's one of their non-competitive grants, so it's accepted on a rolling basis. As I noted before, things are working a little different with fallout from COVID. So they're accepting grants, but they're kind of putting them in a, like I said, banking them, putting them aside to see what kind of funds they're going to actually have, and then kind of going off that on they'll kind of queue people in a first come first serve sort of thing. But again, with finances changing, week by week and sometimes day by day for the state and SHF and stuff, it's kind of up in the air how it exactly all work. But again, they're still accepting those applications.
So Eric, since it's a first come first serve, is there a way we could move this first step by email, or do you think we just really do wait till our next meeting?
We're probably going to have some sort of HPC resolution, like approving the request for proposal and the steps moving forward. So I think that would be the next step. Hopefully we can do that on the next meeting.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
So we can put that on the agenda for our next meeting, that we will approve that language for going out and asking for money. Or actually asking for surveys, yeah. Excuse me, I'm making notes. I think that was the last item on our agenda. Do we have a staff's choice?
Quick point of order. Shared Google Drive was under new business. Is that right? No. I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Never mind. Disregard.
No, I don't really have anything for staff's choice right now.
Okay. Yeah, our shared Google Drive was last meeting.
Sorry.
And Lauren, you established it, so you're going to send an invitation to Helene?
Yes, I actually just did.
Oh, all right. What commissioner's choice, does anybody have anything to share? We can say congratulations to Matt.
Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
And I would say to the commissioner, I don't have any updates here. It's been generally pretty slow. Again, we've had full dockets, but we're just moving through as much administrative stuff as we can. But again, I've got some to-do lists after this meeting, and so I'll get with staff, city attorney, Eric, I'll keep you copied on those, and then get back with the group here.
And we'll be looking for the link to the neighborhood maps to browse around in.
Yep, I'll forward that to you guys probably tomorrow. So.
Okay. You have to get back to your. Say, are you actually working in the building nowadays, or? Ah.
Yep, we're back in the office for the time being. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's like until we shut down again, right?
Yeah. At this point, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I was pleased to see the city council approve a mask mandate. I've been going around masked since the beginning, so but we will survive.
Hey, does anyone know if the city's coming up with a branded face mask, that has the little Englewood logo on it or anything?
I guess I have not heard that, but Mr. Sean Lewis, our city manager, is a very clever guy, as are many of our staff members. Let me just mention that to him in an email. It wouldn't be surprised if somebody's come up with that around the office there. And let me ask you, Madeline,
There's Madeline.
have you seen one of those around?
We have bandanas that we just got in with the Englewood logo on it. So I know that we're giving those away with hand sanitizer at our drive-in movie coming up this Saturday night. And I'm sure we're going to give them away. We have tons of them. So
I don't know how I missed out on this drive-in movie information.
we're having another one in August, I believe. So you'll have to watch out for that one.
Yeah, you need to do more PR.
No, I didn't have anything for Commissioner's Choice.
Okay. Well, and I know I have seen vendors that will do custom masks. Just send them your artwork, and they'll do as many as you want. Maybe we need one with our commission logo on it, huh?
Somehow make them look like the 1918 flu or something.
Yeah. Let's be historic, right? Well, folks, there's nothing in the rules that says we have to go till 8:30.
If we're finished, I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second. God, I beat you.
Do we need to poll everybody for their vote on that?
No, that's not required.
All right. Since we're visible on screen, all in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
I don't see Dave's hand.
All right. The motion is carried then. We will adjourn.
Thank you, Melinda.
Good night, guys.
7:32.
You all keep safe.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Crabtree.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks.
All right.
The
Thanks,
dogs
everybody.
and the DeLorean, yes.
Aye.
Bye.
All right. Good night.